I believe we can start, right? I don't think there's a reason to. I don't think there's a reason for us to delay any longer. So we begin. Okay. Perfect. Let's go. Okay. And where is it go? Here. Okay. In the no, that's just the break time screen. We go here. Oh, okay. In room D. Perfect. And here and see here. This is what we share. Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chiara Marinelli. I'm not the chair of the second, but since she is my colleague Francesca Sinatra, and I will present her. And the first speaker today will be a professional luxury brand and empirical survey on the attitudes of millennials and centennials. So it's my pleasure to introduce you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Francesca Sinatra, and I am a PhD student at the University of Trieste. Today, I want to talk about eco-fashion luxury brand and the attitudes of millennials and centennials when they face with a purchase of luxury items or sustainable items. For this reason, we can say that it is evident that fashion industry has undergone significant changes and transformation due to the continuous changes in social, economic, and cultural context. These changes have given rise to distinct segment on the fashion market. For this reason, we have luxury and fast fashion. For what concerns fast fashion, we can see that has allowed for the production of standardized fashion items at lower costs and faster production rates, while fashion luxury has continued to cater to a specific niche of consumers seeking high quality and prestigious products. In recent years, sustainability has become a significant concern in the fashion industry, and for that reason, consumers are becoming more aware of the environmental impact of the fashion industry, and luxury brands are embracing eco-friendly practices. This study focuses especially on the attitudes of millennials and centennials who are known for their increasing interest in sustainability and ethical consumption. The paper aim was to explore the attitudes of these categories of consumers toward the eco-fashion luxury brands. For this reason, we can start to learn about slow fashion. The emergence of slow fashion has gained nowadays momentum as consumers and businesses are becoming aware of the environmental and social impacts that fashion industry have. Slow fashion, what does? Encourages a slowdown in mass production and consumption. Encourages the use of sustainable raw materials and maintaining high quality standards. Slow fashion is called also eco-fashion. It is a counter-trend to fast fashion that aims to address and limit the negative impact caused by fashion system, such as, for example, cruelty to animals, worker exploitation, and others. It is a philosophy that seeks to create a fashion system that is sustainable in terms of impact on the environment and social responsibility. While we can see that while there is a growing interest in sustainable fashion, many studies have shown that consumers also prioritize aesthetics and styles factors alongside the sustainability consideration. For example, price, quality, and style of clothing and all of fashion items have a greater importance for consumer than ethical factors. So it's important for the enterprises that the fashion items not only to meet sustainable criteria but also meet consumers' expectation in terms of aesthetics and styles. So for what concerns my research in literature, I could see that there are often conflicting opinions and assumptions that do not provide a clear insight into consumer attitudes. For this reason, this paper aims to investigate analytically in these different aspects. And these themes were explored through a structured survey questionnaire with semi-closed questions. The selected target, as I have already said, were millennials and centennials. Millennials are a group of consumers between the ages of 24 and 39 who are increasingly proactive, informed, and inclined to the technological change. The latter instead include individuals between the ages of 18 and 23. This group of consumers were chosen because they constitute a set of consumers involved in the fashion field and because they are active and prone to phenomena such as sustainability because they have a great importance in the fashion system. For what concerns the results in discussion, we can say that in summary, the questionnaire was completed by 352 individuals, and most of them were women. This suggests that the women are more interested and involved in the fashion field. Also, the respondents were divided into two groups, so millennials and Generation Z, with a nearly equal distribution of 49 and 51% respectively. Millennials mainly consist of graduates and workers, while Generation Z included students, recent graduates, workers, and unemployed individuals. All these data we can see in the figure in the slide. The respondents were also divided by their area of residence, revealing a majority in southern Italy and Ireland. When I asked about the income of the respondents, the largest percentage fell within the 18,000 euro range, indicating that luxury purchases are not limited to individuals with higher incomes. This could be attributed to the numerous benefits associated with such purchases, including the high symbolic value of luxury brands. For what concerns the questionnaire, out of the total, 194 had purchased luxury goods at least once, while 158 had never made a luxury purchase. To further analyze the frequency of luxury purchase, the respondents were asked about 8 different categories of luxury product. The data indicated an higher propensity for purchasing products such as shoes, glasses, perfumes, and foods and drinks. Especially Generation Z tend to buy categories such as footwear, glasses, and perfumes, while millennials were more likely to purchase foods and drinks. This survey considered also 16 luxury brands that we can see in the graph, such as Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Chanel, and others. And the results revealed that most consumers had never purchased the product from these brands. Notably, the brand Fauma, which offers luxury furniture products, had a very low purchase frequency, possibly due to the lack of awareness among Generation Z or the lack of interest in this category of products. However, a small portion of millennials claim to have purchased items from this brand. The research also examined the frequency of luxury product purchases through different distribution channels. Multi-brand store were the most frequently used channels, although a significant percentage of consumers reported never using this channel. Outlet factories were becoming a more widely used channel, and e-commerce, in particular, through online retailers of different brands, was the preferred channel for consumers, with millennials preferring traditional channels and Gen Z preferring online purchasing. The attributes influencing consumer luxury purchases were also investigated, including the price, the quality, made in, design, style, personal interest, emotion, social acceptance, and the habits. Price was found to significantly influence luxury purchase choices. Emotion emerged as a more influential factor for Gen Z as they seek high experiential value from their purchase. The questionnaire also included a section that was dedicated to individuals who had never made a luxury purchase. Multiple variables were measured to understand these factors, and the respondents were allowed to select more than one possible answer. The data revealed that the main reason for not making a luxury purchase was the low interest in luxury products and the high price of luxury brands. On contrary, the assumption the lack of purchasing power was not the primary factor influencing their decision. A smaller number of respondents, mostly from Generation Z, indicated that inability to purchase luxury items due to insufficient income. Lastly, only two respondents from generation centennials selected the other answer, starting they did not perceive the need to buy luxury items and prefer to use their earnings differently. For what concerned the section called Eco Fashion, the focus was on the attitudes and propensities towards sustainable and ethical practices in the fashion industry. The study of eco-sustainable fashion continued with a question about the propensities to purchase eco-sustainable fashion products, and the data revealed that only a small percentage, primarily millennials, had purchased eco-sustainable luxury product at least once in their life, accounting for 12% of the sample. The remaining 88% had never made a sustainable luxury purchase. It is important to note that this question was addressed to the entire sample, including those who had never purchased luxury products. Overall, the findings suggest that awareness of ethical fashion is varied among the respondents, with a significant portion being unaware of the phenomenon. Moreover, a small percentage of respondents had engaged in purchasing eco-sustainable luxury products, while the majority had not. For what concerns limits and future research about this paper, this survey was limited only to millennials and Generation Z, which restricted the ability to compare and analyze difference among different consumers categories. The sample was further constrained by focusing on a limited number of luxury brands, potentially resulting in a higher position of negative responses due to their perceived inaccessibility by consumers. So, for the future research, I want and I should expand the sample size and include a wider range of luxury brands. For what concerns the impact of the pandemic, we can see that the pandemic has significantly influenced the fashion industry and the economy as a whole. Lockdowns have led to an increase in online purchases, including fashion products, resulting in a negative impact on physical store sales. The pandemic also accelerated the trend toward omni-channel strategies, where companies integrate various sales channels to offer to the consumers a more integrated and personalized shopping experience. We can say that for what concerns changes in the commercial structure of cities, this article discusses also the impact of the pandemic on the commercial structure of the cities in relation to fashion industry. So online shopping has increased, as we have already said, leading to changes in logistics and the organization of home delivery services. There is also a growing emphasis on local production, reducing carbon emission, and other practices. The focus of on inclusiveness, diversity, and fair treatment of fashion models and industry workers has gained prominence. So the structure of the city, especially on the commercial side, are changing. So I finished my presentation, and if there are some questions, I'm here to respond. Yeah?
Thank you. Wonderful. Just two questions.
Yeah.
One, you mentioned that a large majority of the respondents to the
Yeah.
questionnaire received between 0 and 18,000 euros
Yeah.
per year, right? I have no idea if how this relates to the average earnings in Italy. Would you say that this is below average? This is borderline average? Slightly above average?
No, I think it is a lower, because many of the respondents were students, unemployed people. For this reason, is that lower.
Also, I can imagine that you said that quite a few of them were from the south.
Yeah.
Right, which tend to be unequal.
Yeah, tend to be unequal, because I'm from Sardinia, and this is a research that I have sent through friendship. So
I see.
for this reason.
And another question.
Yeah.
I maybe the literature says more about this, and I haven't read it, but where are gadgets, technological gadgets, placed in terms of luxury items? Because I think it would be really interesting to see how men spend their money on drones or new laptops or.
Yeah, I didn't choose the technological part, because I chose only fashion items, so for this reason. But I think that will be a great idea for the next research. Thank you. So if
Stop sharing.
yeah.
No, there. No. It will be in here. Stop sharing. Big blue button.
Perfect. So we can move on to the next presentation. The cables. Yeah.
Let's open it. And it is Sinatra F.
This one.
Now we have another presentation that will be sent by Chiara Marielli, and it is a joint work that we worked this year, and it is called RFID and counterfeiting, analysis of current trends in the fashion industry.
So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chiara Marinelli, and thank you to my colleague for introducing me in presenting this joint paper on RFID and counterfeiting, and analysis of current trends in the fashion industry. So first, I'm going to provide you with an overview, an introduction, and a literature review of our study. Then I will present part on technologies and RFID tags against counterfeiting, and our empirical study on consumers' attitudes on counterfeited products, to conclude with some last final remarks. So first, why did we decide to focus on this topic? Because as we are PhD students in circular economy, we joined our forces, and my research field is in textile waste management and sustainability. So we discovered that the presence of RFID tags and the radio frequency identification is actually not a new technology at all. It has quite a long history, and it was used since World War II to detect enemy aircrafts. Then it became smaller and smaller to be stored in these radio frequency identification tags at the end of the 90s, and they are integral part of the Internet of Things concept, which is very important nowadays. As they were discovered, they were crafted. There was a wide application of RFID tags and in the fashion industry, and not only. Researchers were greatly interested, and so there were several technological achievements going on in the early 2000s. Also, several retail giants such as Walmart in the US started to integrate and use these RFID tags for retail purposes, and now they are widely used. Also, RFID is also integrated in credit cards, and also in other health tools and services. RFID tags, however, in the fashion industry serve several purposes, and we wanted to focus on this paper on the anti-counterfeiting usage. So first, we provide an overview of the sustainability in the fashion industry, as we know that this is one of the most polluting sectors, industrial sectors worldwide, because of the practices that are ongoing and the fast fashion trends, as well as the entire value chain issues that invest all the field, the textile and apparel field. So not only environmental issues are there, but also economic and social sustainability that points are there that must be for sure tackled, and that have been the object of sensitization and awareness raising activities, especially over the last years. Moreover, also consumers' knowledge is very important because of correct waste management practices and the post-consumption phases. Nevertheless, there are still normative hindrances, referring to the fact that among EU member states especially, there are different norms, different laws on the point, and there are still some issues to be solved before the integration and implementation of the extended producer responsibility, which is the direction the EU is heading to. In addition, we consider literature review on RFID tags in fashion industry. So overall, RFID tags are composed by a transponder, which is interrogated by an antenna. So the antenna, depending on the frequency and the power, interrogates at different distances, and then what the transponder answer, what is responded, is interpreted and collected in the controller that is basically a PC, or the controller is what stores and then interprets information. As I said before, there was an early implementation of RFID tags in the textile and apparel field, although maybe limited to some very big retail giants, and then there have been some improvements, of course, over time, although along with the consumers' concerns. And we want to highlight general advantages of implementation of RFID tags in fashion. That is to say, the fact of speeding up and increasing the efficiency of inventory management, stock processes, and also the fact of being able to reduce human mistakes in terms rather than the use of barcode. So with respect to the barcoding system, Also, they allow for improved customer services in that they can ease the return policies and other types of services that becomes easier to perform. Among the usages of RFID tags, there's also we focused on the anti-counterfeiting purposes. So it is important to underline that technological tools against counterfeiting can show some issues and some problems in terms of technical issues. For instance, RFID tags can sometimes misinterpret the signal sent by the transponder and then the received by the antenna interpreted by the controller. Moreover, there can be awareness issues by consumers themselves and also size factors because they are more costly, of course, they are more expensive, and so implementing them on a larger scale becomes more difficult, more complex. There are also 4 types of anti-counterfeiting systems that have been identified by some scholars, hidden or covert, manifest, and then there have been other types such as RFID tags and also the forensic techniques such as chemical systems against counterfeiting. Focusing on RFID tags, so restricting the scope of these RFID tags against counterfeiting, we underline the existence of 4 main types. That is to say, physical unclonable function-based and clonable RFID integrated circuits and chipless RFID tags for anti-counterfeiting that exploit the fact that each RFID tag has a unique product identifier, so it is specific to that tag and unique. Then we have track and trace anti-counterfeiting, which have been widely used in some fields where the passages, the sectors, the shifts from the firm to the retail are very integrated and make use of an electronic pedigree and are considered to be very safe. Distance-bound control protocols that make use of other technology allowing for detecting whether some RFID tags have been cloned, although the RFID tags must be stored in a unique environment, and other types of anti-counterfeiting protocols that make use of encryption techniques. And this can be different, so simple cryptographic techniques, or otherwise more probabilistic, so more complex techniques in this in cryptography. We want to underline the fact that RFID tags against counterfeiting have been used by luxury brands, but also some smaller, less famous companies have integrated the usage of RFID tags in fashion, and they have experienced better, higher efficiency in their processes, so throughout the entire value chain, and also they have encountered better feedbacks from their customers because they can better trace the entire value chain and test for the authenticity of products. So for this reason, we now present an empirical part that is our survey on consumers' attitudes on counterfeited products. So we wanted to investigate what consumers believe on counterfeited products, their effective consumption propension, and we focused on 16 luxury brands that all serve products in fashion, although some of them also produce other items in other fields. And this survey was submitted between September and November 2020 with 352 people, millennials and centennials, 49% and 51%. And from our sample, we highlighted that there were most were women, and lived mainly in Italy, mostly in the south, and they had an overall low purchase power. So on average, a low purchase power, low income. So what we focused on first, we checked for whether this sample was checked for the presence of these four features: authenticity, quality, made in, and logo, while making purchase. And so whether they considered as important these factors, and we can see that authenticity and quality were definitely the most important factors from the green bars, and that most of them declared not to have ever bought counterfeited products. We underline that counterfeited does not have a negative connotation, but simply it indicates that a product is not the original version of that item. The majority declared to have never bought counterfeited products, but also some said yes, 34%, and others discovered only later. And this is important in that while moving on in the survey, we asked about their purchase habits and purchase channels they mainly used. So there's a restricted sample of 170 people declaring yes, I bought either inadvertently or voluntarily fake counterfeited items, both mainly online, where it is where it is more difficult to check for the authenticity and quality of products, and also as for the purchase frequency of counterfeited items pertaining to the 16 luxury brands we considered. They basically did not know many of them. So it was a low. They didn't generally purchase counterfeited items from these 16 luxury brands. Lastly, we wanted to better understand which were the influential factors in the purchase of counterfeited items. And so we can see that here the money reason was the most important, so the low price of counterfeited products and the high price of luxury brands, while social acceptance, custom or habit in purchasing the counterfeited products, and personal interest were less important. However, we can see in our results that there is a net differentiation between millennials and centennials, and then that millennials paid much more attention to quality and authenticity while making purchases, and also they tended to buy less counterfeited products. So, to conclude, we would like to remark that this is a paper that we would like to expand in different directions in the sustainability field, so exploring the potential for RFID tags in the sustainability direction, and also we know that we need to pay attention also to more recent trends of RFID tags with respect to anti-counterfeiting purposes, and also in light of the fact that there are several new technologies emerging in to this purpose. For instance, also blockchain, big chain, and so big data and other technologies. What our survey wanted to highlight is that authenticity and quality are important factors. Purchasing counterfeited items, it was not a common habit for our sample. And again, we highlight that there are different trends among generations that would be also very important to explore in light of future studies. So maybe repeating also the survey would lead to different results. So recognizing our limitations, we hope that it was interesting and you like it. Thank you. If there are any questions, we are here available. Thank you.
Go on. I see that the questionnaire was circulated in November and December of 2020, right? Yeah. Which means we were still on the pandemic. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And this means that there were definitely supply chain problems already. And I wonder if this impacted the results at all. If, for example, people could not find the brand they wanted, so they were okay with buying a counterfeit. I wonder if this influenced their attitudes.
Yeah.
Were you able to get that?
It might have influenced for sure because there were several hindrances in terms of supply chains worldwide, as you said, and that's the reason why we said that we would like to improve, and also it would be interesting to refine and repeat the survey because it will show for sure. I think I'm quite sure that it will present different results. Thank you.
So the next presenter will be online, and it is Dr. Andrea Gallo that will present a paper titled Reports of Global Gateway to the Sea, Land in Action and the Challenges of Sustainable Globalized Markets.
Try and see if you can share your screen with us.
Yeah, of course. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just fine.
Do you see my screen?
Not yet. Here we are.
Okay, good. Good. At first, I heard a bad sound. Okay, yeah, but no worries. Okay. So, as first, I want to thank to the organizer of the session and to the International Conference on Computational Science and its Application to be here to present this paper. This paper is born as a conjoint work with the colleagues of mine, Professor Giuseppe Baluso, Maurizio Cociancic, Professor Luca Toneatti, Francesca Sinata, the chair of this session, Alicia Scotti, and Matteo Teresini. It is a group work. And here we are going to analyze the rail port of Trieste as a nodal gateway and as the interface between the land and sea connection as the challenge of sustainability of a globalized market. And in particular, we are bringing a case study about Aderfer, that is the shunting company of the port of Trieste. So, what is the aim and the scope of the study? In the study, we want to start from the idea that no one knows the final destination of the different flows once we talk about the flows arriving and departing from a port. We want to analyze in particular the environmental activities and sustainability of a port that use a lot and a huge railway system of road transport. And we want to try to analyze the different port choice criteria through the using of a rail port instead of a traditional road port. So a port that uses a lot, an amount of road to bring away the freight from a port with the road transport. And these are the three different topics that we are going to try to cover in this presentation. So as first, we have to define what we are going to talk once we talk about a gateway port. And once we talk a gateway port, we are talking about a port that handle an area, an economical area, that catch the flows from the global maritime flows and distribute these flows around different corridors, firstly to the inland terminal, then to the distribution center, and then to the final consumer through the last mile, passing through different scale dimensions. So starting from a global scale, once we talk about maritime transport, we arrive to the hinterland scales, and the hinterland scale will be the scale that we are going to analyze today. Once we talk about hinterland, we have to know that the definition of hinterland of port is represented by the surrounding area of a port that the port operations are able to influence by moving the different freights and flows, and that generate in some way the economic activities around the port area. So we are talking about fundamentally the catchment area of a port. And in this paper, we want to analyze what could be the catchment area of the port of Trieste, in particular, focusing on one hand the sustainability impact of the using of the railway transport to move freights from the port to the hinterland, and on the other hand, on what are the real final destination of these different freights. We have to show you how the railway transport has some particular dynamics once we talk about short and or better medium distance transport, because we know that it is more economically and also more sustainable once we are talking about greater distance to use obviously the maritime transport. Once we are talking about last mile, the better way of transport movement will be the road transport. But once we are talking about medium distances, the railway transport will be the most efficient and economical, less relevant way of transport. So for this reason, the Port of Trieste represents a best practice and a good case study that we are going to analyze. Once we talk about the environmental impact of the railway transport system, we could use several different instruments to try to catch and measure and try to give some numbers about what are we talking about the impact. In particular, we could use a specific tool to quantify the environmental impact of this different way of transport, that is Eco Transit. That is an online site that gives you a comparison between all these different way of transport in terms of quantification of the emissions. And also it is important to put in evidence that the railway transport, we have a lot of good environmental impact in terms of reduction of the negative externalities of the different transport. On one hand, because obviously the emission related to the fuel consumption will be lower, but also, for instance, related to the lower labor demand, to the road congestion, to the sound related emissions, and so on and so forth. And so it is important to put in evidence that the railway transport will have a lot of positive impact in terms of environmental sustainability related to the different way of transport. But not only, once we're talking about the sustainability of the sea, rail, intermodal transport for the Port of Trieste, we have to know that the energy consumption, the energy consumption of road transport generates a huge amount of emission and different impacts. And in particular, the Port of Trieste, for its location, that is more or less 4 days of navigation less than using the Northern European port, for instance, will be a good solution to try to reduce the total amount of emission. In particular, once the traffic departs from Trieste using the railway transport and not the road transport, this will represent an important lower and mitigation of the environmental impact in this term. And arriving to the methodology, in this case, we want to define what are the catchment area of the Port of Trieste. And to do that, we are starting from a spatial analysis that cover the railways freight flows assessment, the geographical proximity of the market of destination, and designing of the railway infrastructure, and that is related to the first step of our analysis. Then we are going deeper with an economical analysis of the surrounding areas, as for instance, what are the economic activity located into the closed market near to the port, and the industry transportation need, and so on and so forth. And then we arrive at the third step, that is the final external analysis that will that would try to figure out the competition in terms of different ports that could be used as competitor of a single port. We could analyze the logistics operator of an area, and we could analyze also other environmental factors that could affect this different catchment area. So in this case, we are going to elaborate in particular the first step of this analysis, focusing in particular on the spatial analysis of the railways transport for the port of Trieste. And what you see in here, it is a first screen of what could be the catchment area of the port of Trieste, where you could see that there is a strong presence of connection with all the northeastern of Europe, and this could represent in part the catchment area of the port of Trieste. And also, once we talk about the importance of the railway transport in this port dimension, it is important to put in evidence that over the 51% of all the containers moved from the port of Trieste are handled by train, and these these containers are moved from the road to the railway transport. So you could imagine what could be the importance in this term about the use of railway transport in the dynamics of a single port. And once we talk about the spatial analysis of the port of Trieste, we start from a collaboration, direct collaboration with Adrefer, that is the shunting company of the port of Trieste, that gave us some insights related to the different roads achieved by the shunting company, that right now is working also as a logistic operator on the line in terms of train moved. And here are the main destinations that are covered by Adrefer right now. And you can see here that on one hand, we have a lot of different national destinations that arrives in all the north center of Italy, but also, and it is one of the most recent connection with the Manopello, the freight village of Manopello, that is connected to the service of raw materials for the motorbike industry plant of Honda. And also, on the other hand, once we talk about the international connections related to the port of Trieste, we could see that there is a huge amount of connection related to the north and eastern part of Europe, in particular in Czech Republic, Austria, in Germany, and so on. But also, right now, the flows departing from the port of Trieste arrives until Bettemburg in Luxembourg. So it is an important dimension of the catchment area of the port of Trieste. And here you could see another representation of all these nodal points and all the different connections for the port. In particular, in red are located all the freight village in the northeastern Europe, and the green point into the maps are the freight village directly connected with the port of Trieste. But once we talk about the logistic connection of the port of Trieste, we are also talking about a logistic platform for an entire system of a great zone related to all the northern central Europe, and in particular, the logistics system of the port of Trieste. It is not only the port, but we have to notice that how also there are different key strategy point of our system that could be the freight village of Felnetti, of Trieste, of Gorizia. And there are two ports, the port of Trieste and the port of Monfalcone. There is another freight village, it is the freight village of Monfalcone. And all this system is given to try to catch the flows from the sea and move the different freights to all the entire North and Eastern Europe. So, in conclusion, on one hand, once related to the sustainability, the railway transport system is a strategical way of transport that could be used a lot, trying to reduce the negative externalities of road transport. And on the other hand, we could see how the intel analysis show us that the infrastructure and all the system are in particular relevant in terms of case study for all the entire Europe system once you talk about rail port. Rail port in terms of an intermodal node that could allow to all the entire system, logistics system, to try to achieve the idea of a sustainable environmental port. And so that is our analysis in some terms.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrea. If there are some questions. No, I think there's not. So thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So we can move to another presentation.
Now we turn again on my colleague, Francesca Sinatra. It's a pleasure to introduce her. She has a paper that she wrote with the co-authorship of Salvatore Gore, and its title is How the Business Model Impacts on the Sustainability of Production Companies. So, thank you.
Thank you so much. So, the aim of this paper was to understand how fashion companies try to include elements of circularity in their business models, since in recent years, the fashion industry is the one that consumes the greatest amounts of raw materials and pollutes the environment. For what concerns the concept of circular business model, we can say that a circular business model is designed to generate economic value by minimizing resources consumption and reducing waste generation. It follows the principle of the circular economy, which aims to shift from the linear take, make, dispose model to a more sustainable and regenerative approach. Within a circular business model, resources are utilized efficiently and effectively throughout their entire life cycle, with the goal of minimizing or eliminating wastes. The fashion industry, known for its fast-paced and resource-intense nature, can greatly benefit from the adoption of a circular business model. The relationship between a circular business model and fashion chain firms is significant and transformative, because we can see that implementing a circular business model in fashion chain firms require a holistic approach and collaboration across the value chain. Also, by embracing sustainable materials, design principle, product lifespan extension, and efficient reverse logistic, fashion companies can significantly reduce their environmental footprint and contribute to a more circular and sustainable fashion industry. For what concerns linear and circular economy in the fashion industry, we know that fashion industry has a significant impact on the environment, making it crucial for fashion companies to adopt sustainable practices. Two contrasting business models that influence the sustainability of fashion companies are linear economy and circular economy. On the one hand, the linear economy, it has been the traditional model in the fashion industry, follow a take, make, dispose approach, and the fashion companies that operate under this model extract raw materials, manufacture garments, and sell them to consumers. Once the garments are no longer wanted or wearable, they are discarded or waste. This linear approach contributes to several sustainability challenges, including, for example, resource depletion, pollution, and waste generation. On the other hand, the circular economy is an alternative business model that aims to minimize waste and maximize resource efficiency. It promotes a closed-loop system where products, materials, and resources are reused, recycled, or repurposed to extend their lifespan. In the context of the fashion industry, the circular economy encourages practices such as designing for durability, using recycled or upcycled materials, etc. Also, a circular economy approach can have several positive impacts on the sustainability of fashion companies. For example, we have resource conservation, waste reduction, and low environmental impact and economic opportunity. In this study, we investigate a collaboration that has took place in 2020 by Silpai and H&M. These two companies operate in the fashion industry and collaborate to address the growing awareness of the environmental impact of the fashion industry and promote circular fashion. Sellpy is a second-hand e-commerce platform, purchases and sells used clothing, taking care of entire sales processes. H&M, it is a major fashion chain and produces and sells new clothing and has been focusing on sustainability initiative. The partnership between Silpai and H&M allowed H&M to expand its business and support its sustainability goals. Also, H&M invested in Sellpy, becoming a minority shareholder and provided logistical support, including access to warehouse and transportation networks. This collaboration facilitated Sellpy's growth and allowed it to scale its operation. Additionally, H&M aimed to encourage its customers to recycle clothing by making it easier through Sellpy's platform. This partnership aligns with the trend towards sustainable fashion and the circular economy in general, promoting sustainable consumption, reducing waste, and create a more sustainable future for the fashion industry. For what concerns this paper, we wanted to investigate the attitudes of millennials and centennials when they face with an eco fashion purchase. For this reason, we use a survey where 352 individuals respond to this questionnaire, and we can see that from the graph that female are the majority. The sample was almost equally divided by between millennials and centennials, 49% on the one hand, and 51 on the others, with millennials being mainly graduates and workers, and Generation Z consisting of students, recent graduates, unemployed people. The majority of the respondents lives in southern Italy and in the island, and there was a strong predominance of individuals belonging to income range of 18,000 years within the household in 2019. From the analysis of the data, it was observed that luxury purchases were not limited to individuals with higher purchasing power, but also included those with lower incomes, possibly due to their perceived benefits of luxury products, such as high brand symbolic value. Regarding awareness of ethical fashion, 38% of the sample indicate that they were not aware of this phenomenon. 35% were aware, and 28% have heard about it, but had less in-depth knowledge about ethical fashion. This study further explored the propensity to purchase eco-sustainable fashion products. It found that only a small percentage of respondents, mostly millennials, had purchased eco-sustainable luxury products, while the remaining 88% had not. The main reason for not purchasing eco-sustainable luxury products were the high price of the items and the lack of information provided by companies. Other factors that influencing consumers' choices not to buy eco-sustainable luxury products included incompatibility with personal tastes, lack of information on the effect of this purchase, and limited interest in sustainability issues by the consumers. Price was found to be the most significant variable influencing consumers' choices, by the way. Overall, the survey highlighted that while there is a growing awareness of sustainability among consumers, there are still significant barriers to adopting eco-sustainable luxury products, including pricing and lack of information. Further efforts are needed to promote sustainable fashion and educate consumers about its importance. The survey findings suggest that while consumers are aware of a phenomenon of ethical fashion, only a small percentage actually purchase eco-sustainable products. This leads to the hypothesis that some individuals may engage in ethical and social causes primarily for the purpose of appearing on social media, particularly among centennials. The two generation study, although sharing some similarity, represent different consumers categories. So it is crucial to understand this diversity and adapt strategies accordingly to them. Companies have also recognized the importance of incorporating circularity into their business model, and circular practices can help to reduce the environmental impact of products, lower costs, and enhance companies' reputation. By embracing circularity, fashion companies can also explore new commercial opportunities, such as selling products made from recycled materials or offering repair and reuse services. So, integrating circularity into a business model can offer several competitive advantages, including product differentiation, increased customer loyalty, and reduced risk related to resource scarcity. Additionally, it enables companies to meet the demands of environmentally conscious consumers and address the growing calls for transparency and social responsibility. However, this paper have several limitations because the survey focused only on two consumers categories, preventing a comprehensive comparison with other consumers groups. So, for what concerns the future research, it must be considered expanding the sample size and incorporating a more qualitative research model to gain deeper insights into motivation and attitudes driving purchasing decision. In conclusion, embracing circularity in business model presents numerous opportunities for companies to enhance their economic, environmental, and social performance, ultimately creating long-term value for stakeholders. Therefore, it is essential for companies to take the integration of circularity seriously in their operation. So I finished my presentation, and if there are some questions, I am available. Yeah.
Was there in your questionnaire a
Yeah.
question regarding where the respondent found out about eco-friendly fashion trends?
No.
That would have been an interesting question.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I suspect that those who know, you mentioned it in a way, you inferred to it, that some purchase eco-friendly fashion products to appear on social media. So
Yeah.
I wonder what the impact of social
Social media in-
influencers
yeah.
was on this trend. It could be good in the future.
Thank you for your observation. There aren't other questions? No? Perfect. This.
The next team, is there anyone from the next team in the chat? Let's ask.
There is anyone from the next team? Which are the names?
It's these.
Emma Ramawati, Tony Endratono, Sugiarto, Pradini, Erawan. I think there is no one.
So we go right into the next one.
Yeah? And
Andrea Gallo. Here we are.
the next one will be Salvatore Dore and Andrea Gallo, which presents a paper entitled Circular Economy and Reverse Logistica, Circular Mathematics for the Analysis of Sustainable Business Model.
Thank you. And please make sure you speak a little closer to the computer so that we can hear you just a little better. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, thank you. Thank you to the organizer, to the chair, and so on. And we are going to present our second contribution. Could you see in our screen? Do you see? Do you hear me?
Yes. Do you? Yeah.
Okay. Do you hear me well right now? A little bit better than before?
Yeah. The problem was from home.
Okay.
Okay.
In this case, we are going to present a paper that entitled as Circular Economy and Reverse Logistics, an Analysis of Sustainable Business Models. We are going to start with a consideration that the circular economy is a concept that has been gaining popularity in recent years, both nationally and also internationally. The goal of circular economy is to create a sustainable economic system, which not only aims to reduce the negative environmental impact, but also with the focus on a better efficiency in the use of the resources through an optimal management of waste where it is transforming into new resource material, thus going to reduce the environmental impact and ensuring long-term sustainability. This will pass through the designing for circularity of a product, of a system, and of a process that could be used for repair, remanufactured, or recycled efficiently the different materials. A second, this process will be held by the performance economics, considering that a business model will reward positive environmental performance instead of relying on product ownership models. As third, we are going to face the problem of the efficient use of the resources, so by reducing the use of finite resources and increasing the energy efficiency. And as third, then we could find the repair, remanufacturing, and recycling of the different materials. And as last but not least, it is the creation of new networks, where we have to consider that integrating different production systems will develop a circular economy and circular flows. But it is important also to put in evidence that for pass from a sustainable development to a circular business model, to achieve this goal, we will need 3 different pillars that we're going to analyze in this case, in this scenario. And on one hand, of course, will be the using of the circular business model inside of the companies. The second pillar will be the efficient reverse logistics, so the efficient logistics related to the inverse directional flows. And a third will be the optimal location of the different firms, so an analysis of geographical locations of the firm. And now I will pass the word to my colleagues, Salvatore Dore, that is here with us, that will talk about the concept of circular business models.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thanks to the chair and thank to the organization of this session. And now I think that is the case to switch to analyze how a circular business model works. We have to start in this path saying that a circular business model is a framework that aims to create economic value while minimizing the consumption of resources and reducing waste generation. It is based on the principle of the circular economy, as we say a few minutes ago, which seeks...
Wait a second, sorry.
What's...
We have a problem with the slides.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Do you see the slides right now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, sorry. Now I can start. Okay, a circular business model is I say before, a circular business model is a framework that aims to create economic value while minimizing the consumption of resources and reducing waste generation. It is based on the principle of the circular economy, which seeks to move away from the traditional linear take, make, dispose model to a more regenerative and sustainable approach. In a circular business model, resources are used efficiently through their life cycle, and waste is minimized or eliminated. The model emphasizes some elements. For example, the first one is resource optimization. The circular business model focuses on maximizing the use of resources by promoting strategies such as recycling, reusing, remanufacturing, and refurbishing. It aims to extract maximum value from materials and products, reducing the need of virgin resources or, for example, raw materials. The second one is product life extension. Rather than encouraging planned obsolescence, a circular business model aims to extend the lifespan of product. This can be achieved through product design that prioritize durability, reparability, and upgradability. Additionally, businesses may offer repair and maintenance services to keep products functionally for longer. The third one, is sharing and collaborative consumption. The model encourages the sharing of resources and assets, enabling multiple users to access and utilize them. This can be achieved through practices such as product leasing, rental services, sharing platforms, and collaborative consumption models, which reduce the overall demand for new products. The fourth is recycle and waste management. A circular business model emphasizes the responsible disposal and recycling of products and materials at the end of their life. It seeks to minimize waste generation and promote the recovery of valuable resources through recycling, composting, or other sustainable waste management. The fifth is sustainable supply chain. Circular business model consider the entire value chain from sourcing raw materials to product disposal. They focus on selection suppliers and partners that align the sustainable practice, reducing the environmental impact through the supply chain. And the last one is value-added service. In a circular business model, companies can create additional value additional value by offering services related to their product. For example, instead of selling a product outright, a company might offer it as a service where customers pay for the utility or performance of the product, while the company retains ownership and responsibility for maintenance and recycling. But I think that we have to analyze another point that is the connection between the circular business model and the reverse logistics. Why? Because the circular business models, or a circular business model and the reverse logistics, are very closely related concepts that work together to enable sustainable and efficient resource management. Reverse logistics refers to the process of managing the flow of product, materials, and information from the point of consumption back to the point of the origin or appropriate disposal or recycling facilities. It involves activities such as product returns, repairs, refurbishment, recycling, and disposal. Reverse logistics aim to optimize the value recovery from returned products and materials while minimize waste and environmental impact. The circular business model, as previously defined, focused on creating an regenerative and sustainability approach to resource management. It emphasizes the efficient use of resources, product life extension, recycling, and waste reduction. The circular business model seeks to create closed-loop system where resources and materials are continuously reduced, recycled, or repurposed, reducing the need for new resource extraction and minimize the waste generation. Reverse logistics plays a crucial role in the implementation of the circular business model. It facilitates an recovery and reintegration of products, component, and material into the value chain, enabling their resource or reuse, or recycling by effectively managing the resource flow of products and material. Companies can extract value from returned or end-of-life products, redirect them to appropriate channels, and reintroduce them into production or distribution cycles. In the context of a circular business model, reverse logistics enables several key practices. The first one is product return and refurbishment. Reverse logistics allows companies to enable product return efficiently. Returned products can be inspected, repaired, refurbished, and reintroduced into market, extending their life cycle and reducing waste. The second one is remanufacturing and reconditioning. Reverse logistics support the process of remanufacturing, where returned products or components are disabled, cleaned, repaired, and reabsorbed to create good as new products. Overall, what we can say? We can say that reverse logistics act as an enabler for a circular business model, providing the infrastructure and process necessary to manage product returns, recycling, and resource recovery. And I finish my presentation, and the floor is for my colleague Andrea.
Okay. Thank you, Salvatore, for introduction as the concept related to the circular business models. And as you said before, a pillar, a fundamental part of the circular business model is given by the reverse logistics. Once we talk about reverse logistics, we have to consider that we talk about the process of moving products in the opposite direction instead of the typical forward flows in order to recover the value or dispose of them properly. Where reverse logistics when we talk about reverse logistics, we have to know that we are going to talk about to try to define, to close a loop that is start when we talk about the standard use and consumption of materials. It is a standard loop, it is not a closed loop. And once we introduce the reverse logistics, we are going to close this loop, trying to give new resources starting from used materials. So it will be important to talk about reverse logistics in terms of product and materials that can be reused, repaired, remanufactured, or recycled by reducing waste and landfill and improving resource utilization. Reverse logistics can close the cycle of production and consumption, thus facilitating the transition to a circular economy. And in this case, the benefit of a circular economy include the reducing of environmental impact, but also the improving of resource efficiency, the promoting of sustainable economic growth. And company can also gain a competitive advantage by developing a positive reputation as a sustainable brand, increasing the sales and the customer loyalty through discrete use of a circular business models. Under this point of view, it will be critical for the different companies to adopt a circular economy approach through the integration of reverse logistics and circular economy values into their operation, starting from the top management to the entire organizations. And into the figure here, we show the different steps that a product will follow as part of management or reverse logistic flow into the dynamics of a company, where different products will be sales, the customer will transport it to physical store or to postal service, then these materials, this product will go to the customer service center, then to the back office, and then finally to the recovery plant, where this will be reused, repaired, replaced, repackaged, disassembled to spare the parts, and then come back to the store. And so in this case, we are talking about circular flows. But as we said before, we are going to analyze not only circular business model in terms of reverse logistics and business models, but also a key component of circular business model will be given by the geographical localization of the plant and of the recovery plants. So it is important to give a spatial dimension on the one hand related to the waste location, and on the other hand to the waste treatment and preparation for reusing a recycled plant, and then to the final market of these new raw materials given by all the process, where we could underline that the locational consideration of waste treatment plants refers to the site of supplies of raw material to be treated. The locational choice of production facilities must be evaluated very carefully, both in terms of reverse logistics, but also in terms of final destination of the flow that is leaving the industrial site of processing. And we also know that the circular of the economy system is based on the reduction of the consumption of prime raw material, and in this context, it's seen clear that raw material treatment plants represent the key element of the circularity of a business model and allow the recovery and the reuse of the waste materials and transform them into new raw materials to be introduced in new product processes. So the proximity of treatment plants to the raw material supply will be given by reducing the transportation costs, and on the other hand, on the quality of the recovered materials. So it looks important to give a dimension of the spatial localization of these different materials, and in particular, in literature, starting from the simplified Webel models, but also using the line written by Professor Boruso, Professor Balletto, and Professor May before us, we could define different localization strategy of the treatment plants related to the raw material localization and to the final market localization as presented into the figure here in the slides. And so the localizational choice will therefore be faced with the search of an optimal trade-off between raw material site, treatment plant, and final destination market. And so only arriving to the optimal trade-off in this term of different location, the business model will be as much sustainable as possible. And to conclude this analysis, we faced a case study starting from what we analyzed before, and we decided to assess a SWOT analysis for the circularity of a business model for the IKEA, that is an important multinational company specialized in the production and the sale of furniture and furnishing that are present in over 60 different countries around the world and in over of 460 different stores all around the world. And we decided to assess this analysis on this company because the IKEA company has a particular attention on all what are related to the sustainability and the circularity. In fact, here you could see it has in almost all their stores, there are some hub dedicated to the circularity and to the reuse and relocation of the products. And in particular, the returns by IKEA are managed by local store, which have an area in all these different stores dedicated to the return of the items that are sold at the reduced price. And there is in all these different stores a customer service center that handle all the return and sell the saleable product, and or it bring it to the different warehouses where it are repaired and then resold, or the different products that are going back to the stores are directly sold in as-is area. So you bring your product to the IKEA that has some problem, and it will be sold as is. And once we talk about the circularity of the business process of IKEA, it takes a lot of different actions to try to reduce the environmental impact of these business models. In particular, through the using of recycled materials for packaging, generating more electricity from sustainable sources than the electricity used during the production product, and by incorporating the environmental friendly materials in their production lines. But when we talk about the SWOT analysis, we could see there are some point of strengths as the use, as presented before, of different as the use of the strong use of renewable energy sources, the cutting of fossil fuels. The products are designed to be easy to reuse, and almost the 70% of the materials used by IKEA are derived from natural fiber. Once we talk about the weakness, we have to know that the weakness for IKEA, it is the complex supply chain system derived from the widespread of the industry plant and the difficult supply chain of the raw materials to all these different plants. And then finally, we could talk about the opportunities where IKEA predicted to complete path to a complete sustainable system until the 2030, so in less than 7 years became completely sustainable, and a strong use of recycled materials. And then finally, talking about the treats, we think that the main treats for this company could be the presence into the market of a lot of competitors. And so if on one hand IKEA would to implement their sustainability, it must be able to implement it without compromising their economical margin of the company, and so that could be quite difficult. And so arriving to the final consideration, we have to know that, as we said before, the sustainability of, once we talk about circular business models, we have to talk about these three different souls that have to co-work together to try to achieve the goals of environmental sustainability and of circularity. And so this could pass only through a good management of the reverse logistic flows, the implementation of circular business models, but also trying to find the optimal trade-off between localization theories, and so from the location of raw materials, treatment plants, and finally the final destination markets. And thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, here.
Thank you, Andrea and Salvatore, for the presentation. There are some questions? No? No. There are someone from the team, Emma Renovati, Endratono, Sugiarto? No? There aren't. So we can close the session. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you so much. Bye. Thank you so much.
Hello. Excuse me, just one information for the chair. Remember to complete the evaluation form for the session.
Okay.
I will send you the link in the chat, just a few seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
If you are happy now, you can also do it later at your convenience.
Okay.
And one more thing. So if I understood, the bibliometric analysis of railway transport was not discussed, right?
Yes, there are no one.
Okay, so I will send it to the organization. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.